Hello, I'm Brian Young, and today we're going to go over 26101, Occupational Overview, the Electrical Industry. So this will give you a little bit of background of what you can expect being an electrician or a lot of other jobs that are available to electricians. Um, let's get started. Occupational Overview of the Electrical Industry. After successful completion of this module, you should be able to identify various sectors and trade options in the electrical industry, understand the apprenticeship training process for electricians, understand the responsibilities of employees and employers, and this is a knowledge-based module. There's no performance tasks. Overview, the electrical field depends on skilled workers. These workers install and maintain residential, commercial, and industrial electrical systems and equipment. In this module, you'll learn about career paths in the electrical field, what you must do to be an electrical apprentice. You'll also learn about employer and employee responsibilities. This is the NFPA 70, the National Electrical Code, and NEC are registered trademarks of the National Fire Protection Association. So career options. Describe typical components in an electrical wiring system. Describe typical components in a commercial wiring system. Describe typical components in an industrial wiring system. List career paths and job opportunities in the electrical trade. I don't want to oversimplify it, but if someone lives there, it's residential. Houses, condominiums, apartments. You get into a gray area where somebody lives in a hotel, and you can actually live in a hotel. They have yearly rates. A lot of people do this in New York. But if someone lives there, it's residential. If they sell stuff, a bookstore, Publix, Lowe's, Home Depot, any place you go to buy something is commercial. Where they make the stuff that they sell is industrial. So not just nuclear power plants or phosphate mines, but Tropicana orange juice is industrial. Where they make Levi jeans is industrial. They have a Coca-Cola bottling plant in St. Pete. That's industrial. Where they're making stuff that they're going to ship to other stores to be sold other places. That's industrial. Where they sell it as commercial, and when the people buy it and take it home where they live, that's residential. Okay, I just want to clear that up because sometimes there's a little bit of confusion as to what those three categories actually mean. We always say that the two places that are hard to categorize are hospitals and schools. I kind of put them in commercial. You could say that schools are selling education and hospitals are selling health, but they're in between residential and commercial. They kind of have a leg in both categories. Okay. Let's see here. What does it say? So what would you do if the power went out right now? How would you charge your phone, turn on the lights, play video games? Like most people, you depend on devices that require electricity. Many people are responsible for making sure you can access electricity when you need it. Some work at plants where electricity is generated, others work on the lines that transmit the electricity. Some work to repair and maintain systems and equipment, and some work to install the wiring devices that let you use power in your home, school, or office. So more than likely you'll get a job with an electrical contractor who builds houses and small stores. You might find yourself working on larger jobs, maybe a slot store, maybe an entire mall, maybe a football stadium. If we ever get high-speed rail in Central Florida, you might work on that. So anywhere that they're building things that use electricity, they're going to hire electricians. In this section, you'll learn about the different types of electrical systems and career paths available to electricians. Here is 1.1.0 wiring systems used in residential. Again, that's where somebody lives. You've probably got a meter on the outside of your house that shows how much electricity you're using. This is a transformer. Most neighborhoods have a pad-mounted transformer. You might see pole-mounted transformers coming to your house. We have different stages of construction. We have the rough-in stage and the trim-out stage. In the rough-in stage, we're going to put the plastic boxes in the walls, run the Romex, that's the non-metallic sheath cable, put the panel up. All of this is done before we get the rough-in inspection. And then an inspector comes. You can't just drywall over it. You won't be able to see what happened in the walls. They want to make sure that the Romex is stapled within 8 inches of every plastic box and every 4.5 feet. So you have to get a rough-in inspection. The inspector comes and sees it, says, yeah, everything's up to code. The drywallers can come in and cover the walls and the ceilings with drywall. Once that's done, then we'll do the trim out stage where we put in the receptacles, the switches, the light fixtures. When a new home is built, an electrical service is installed. It's the conductors and equipment connecting the serving utility to the wiring system of the premises served. In the rough-in stage, you'll install panel board, wiring, device boxes. Then you have to get that rough inspection. Then you'll do the trim out. During the trim out, you install the receptacles, switches, devices, fixtures, and connect them all to the panel board. And then you might even do testing. A lot of times contractors like you to do that at the same time. Go ahead and do the trim out once you get everything in. You feed the building or the room or the residence with temporary power, and just see that the lights come on and the switches work as they are intended, and all the receptacles are wired correctly. And if they're not, then you'll have to do troubleshooting. 1.2.0 wiring systems used in commercial buildings. So while you're out in your car and you're passing some of these businesses, take a look at their electrical service. A lot of times you don't see it from the front of the store, but if you go through a drive-through, you're bound to see the electrical service. And you'll see duct bank, you'll see all the disconnects, you'll see separate metering. If it's a slot store, if there are 4 different stores in that same building, each one will have its own meter socket and its own disconnecting means to disconnect them from the power. And here's a larger pad-mounted transformer to feed that building. Most everything is put in conduit. It might be electrical metallic tubing or it might be rigid conduit, but everything's going to be installed in conduit in commercial. And you have to have a fire alarm system to make sure that people exit the building if there is an emergency. Here's office lighting. Here's outdoor front lighting. You might even have parking lot lighting. Going green in 2017, the night sky in Chicago got a little bit brighter and a lot more colorful. So when electrical contractors replaced the crown of lights on the city's tallest building, the John Hancock Center. The crown surrounding the building on its 99th floor can be seen for miles. The original crown of lights was made of 552 8-foot fluorescent tubes. When the building owner wanted to change the color of the lights, electricians had to remove each tube by hand to slip on colored plastic coverings. This job took 2 electricians a week to complete. When the decision was made to upgrade the system, electricians replaced the fluorescent tubes with light-emitting diodes. Touch screen is now used to easily switch between many different colors and patterns. The LED luminaires are much more efficient than the fluorescent tubes. The original fluorescent tubes used 50,048 watts of power per year. The new system only uses 9,400 watts. So that's a big difference. It's what, 1/20th or something of the power. Well, no, it's what's that one? I don't know. Anyway, it's saving a lot of energy. So there's what the night sky looks like, and that's that ring of lights that they were talking about. Now they can change the color of them with the touch of a keypad. Industrial, again, this is where they make the stuff that we buy in the stores. Products are created, assembled, or stored in an industrial facility. It might be a warehouse, factory, or power plant. Industrial work has special safety hazards. These include high voltages, chemical hazards, and other hazards. When you work as an industrial electrician, you will install and maintain systems. These terms can be defined as follows. Well, install means you put it in place in the conduit, the conductors, the motors, the equipment. Maintain means you service the system to perform tasks such as testing and motor lubrication. You also fix common problems to keep it running. And this is called switchgear. And this is a bucket. And here's a, well, I'm going to say a circuit breaker, but it's more than just a circuit breaker. This is a huge service center. This might feed an entire separate panel in a building or on a floor, what have you. All of these are separate circuit breakers, probably three-phase. It might be 480 volts. It doesn't, yeah, it looks like 480 to me. And here's the distribution switch gear. Here's the bus bar made out of copper. Sometimes it's a copper alloy, so it has greater physical strength. Copper is actually a very soft material. So here are the copper alloy buses that carry the electricity inside the switch gear. And what happens is these stabs, you can plug in a circuit breaker into those stabs. And whatever this voltage is going to feed them. Here's a motor control center, MCC, motor control center. And each one of these is a bucket, and each one of them has a disconnect. You can turn it off. It has a start button. It probably has a motor starter with overloads in it inside of these buckets. Some of them will actually have a start-stop push button on the front of the cabinet. I don't see any with a start-stop, but you can control that motor with that. Career paths in the electrical industry. You want to be an electrician? It's a good choice because there's always a need for qualified electricians. You have many options in the field. You might build a career installing and maintaining traditional equipment. You might also explore new technologies such as solar or wind power. Here in Florida, we're about 150,000 electricians shy, meaning that older electricians have retired or have changed careers, and there hasn't been an influx of younger people getting out of high school wanting to go down this career path of being an electrician. If you know of anyone between the ages of 20 and 40 who are looking for a job, urge them to get into construction. Tell them they should be an electrician. If you have a high school diploma and you are so-so at math, you can be an electrician. You don't have to be an engineer. We need warm bodies. We're, like I say, 150 to 180,000 electricians short. And that's just Florida. Every state is short. Do you want to be a residential electrician? You'll read electrical plans and wiring diagrams to know how the system must be installed. You'll install the panel board and protective devices such as circuit breakers. You'll install wiring and devices such as receptacles and switches. You'll install lighting, smoke detectors, and other fixtures such as fans and alarms. So here's a guy Look how happy he is. Why wouldn't you want to be an electrician? This guy is just giddy putting this light in. That's what you want to do. You want to be an electrician. How does residential electrician find work? There's several different ways. Residential electrician work for a contractor. The contractor provides services and materials to others based on the terms of contract. For example, a residential contractor might provide the services and materials for building a house. I mean, uh, worst comes to worst, just go through the phone book and start calling electrical establishments and asking them if they're hiring. But that's the hard way to do it. Um, you can put out your resume on electronically. What's the one? I can't think of it now. But you can put your resume out there. You can find a job fairly easily. You can go down to the unemployment office, and they'll let you look around in their computers at job postings. Um, you can go on any of the sites, public service sites, or go on Facebook, go on, you know, any of the, I don't know what I'm trying to say, you know what I'm saying. Do networking. That's what I was trying to say. Networking. You know someone who knows someone who knows someone, and you're going to find a job. Uh, if you're in a trade school, ask your instructor. Go ask the guidance counselor. Most vocational instruction schools, colleges will have a department just for trying to find you a job placement. So talk to the job coordinator. You can also work as your own contractor. This is called a sole proprietorship. That's way down the road. I don't want you to take this class and think, oh, I'm just gonna go out and do electrical work. You're not a contractor, and you have to be a master electrician to get a contractor's license, or you have to hire a master electrician to qualify your shop. So it's not something that happens overnight. Uh, Even a 4-year apprenticeship, when you get out, you're going to be a journeyman. You're not going to be a contractor. You're not going to be a master electrician. You can sit for the test, you can take the test and become a master electrician. That still does not qualify you as a contractor. You have to go to the professional board. Here in Pinellas County, it's the PCCLB, Pinellas County Construction Licensing Board. PCCLB, you can look it up on the internet, and there you'll find all the regulations for taking the test and opening your own business. Do you want to be a commercial electrician? Would you like to work on larger jobs over a longer period of time? This is highlighted. It says commercial electricians install power, lights, and other electrical equipment in commercial buildings such as stores or offices. So here he's in a drop ceiling. These tiles lift out. This is actually a light fixture. It's also 2 feet by 4 feet, and it lies down in the grid. You can see the pink insulation up in the drop ceiling to try to insulate these offices or whatever he's working. Delta Electrical Incorporated. Okay. General contractor hires an electrical contractor for commercial work. That makes the electrical contractor a subcontractor. You might be an electrical contractor. You might work for an electrical contractor. Some buildings need both commercial and residential wiring. Do you want to be a service electrician? Do you like to work on something new every day? Are you good at fixing things? If both answers are yes, then a service electrician career might be ideal for you. Basically, you're in a service truck or a van, and you go to people's houses. They say that their receptacle behind the television has stopped working, and you need to troubleshoot it and find out why, because they're missing their soap operas and the Wheel of Fortune. So you're going to have to get that fixed for them. Sometimes their water heater stops heating, and they want to know why. You have to troubleshoot it and fix it, get it going again. Might be a bad circuit breaker, might be a burnt out heating element in the water heater, might be a bad thermostat stopped working. If you want to be an electrical remodeling contractor, for a simple remodel, you might move outlets or add switches. For complex remodels, you might replace the whole electrical system. In addition, you might add wiring for new lighting, ceiling fans, and switches. You might install smart home appliances, pool or hot tub wiring, or electrical vehicle charging stations. Some companies dedicate themselves to one thing and one thing only. When they said swimming pool, I worked for a swimming pool contractor. That's all they did. They do swimming pools, and they needed an electrician to do the wiring. You've got a pool pump that circulates the water to filter it. They also had some people will have a spa next to their swimming pool, and you need a separate circulating pump for that. And you need the air jets. And if you have a waterfall feature, that's a separate pump. Um, you might have lighting, uh, detail lighting, or swimming pool lighting. So you could work just for a swimming pool contractor, do the electrical work for the swimming pools. There are a lot of different possibilities in the electrical trade. I don't know why this went down there. Do you want to be an industrial electrician? Industrial electrician, they work in industrial facilities where there are specialized hazards and complex equipment. That's a highlight. So again, in an industrial plant, that's where they manufacture something, or it could be a power plant, it could be a phosphate mine. There are a lot of hazards that you don't run into in day-to-day life in industrial environments. So you have to learn about those hazards, learn how to avoid them, and what personal protective equipment you need to wear if you are going to come into contact with them. Know how to recognize a hazard, know how to get away from a hazard. And when you're running electrical work, the electrical work has to meet a certain criteria. If you're in an explosive environment, it can't have any arcing or sparking. Every time you turn the lights on in your house, you create a tiny little spark inside that switch. If that happens in a coal mine or in a place where they're working with petroleum products, gasoline, acetylene, what have you, you could have an explosion. So you have to have wiring in conduit, and it's called explosion proof or hermetically sealed. There are rules and regulations as to how you run that, but it keeps the sparks contained inside the apparatus so that none of it escapes. You don't mix with the environmental air that is hazardous, that can explode, and you make it intrinsically safe. These are motor starters. You have to be able to troubleshoot motor starters, and a lot of times it's about getting the factory or the industrial plant back up and running. So if the motor starter goes down, you need to be able to swap it out with a new one quickly. They've got a lot of spares in the electrical room. Know what you're working on. Take a spare with you. If you have to change it out, change it out. You can bring it back to the shop and maybe troubleshoot it later. These types are called IEC. They're not NEMA. They're really not rebuildable. Once they go, they go. You throw them away. The NEMA ones, you can break them apart and use the parts to repair another one that's not working. You can Frankenstein them together. These IEC models, they're disposable. Basically, if they stop working, you throw it away and you're done. All right. Do you want to be an electrical maintenance technician? This is highlighted. It says electrical maintenance technician. Your responsibilities could include taking apart and repairing magnetic motor starters. And that's what we were talking about up here, the magnetic motor starters. Working as an electrical maintenance technician, He's working in an industrial plant, very high visibility clothing to make sure that people know where he is at all times. Uh, some of these lines are under high pressure. You need to be aware of that. They're trying to keep everything contained in the piping system so as not to have any explosions or what have you. Some companies hire on-site maintenance electricians who are always there to make sure the system's working. In other cases, an industrial facility that needs an electrician may not hire you directly. Instead, it hires a contractor who hires you. The contractor sends you with a team to do the work. The industrial facility pays the contractor, and then the contractor pays you. So you can work there. Electrical and instrumentation. A lot of times you'll see P and ID drawings. It's piping and instrumentation drawings. So P and ID. Do you want to be a utility substation electrician? The substation, it's an assemblage of equipment such as switches, interrupting devices, circuit breakers, buses, and transformers through which electric energy is passed for the purpose of distribution, switching, or modifying its characteristics. So a lot of neighborhoods will have a substation. They come off of the high lines, the electrical high lines, and they transform it down to 13,800 volts, where you can use it in your neighborhood. There's a transformer at your house out on the pole that brings the 7,300 volts down to 240 volts that you use in your house. So here's a substation. You may have driven by something like this and wondered what it was. It's a power distribution center. It takes the high lines coming in from the utility and it transforms them down and it distributes it to all of the neighborhoods. Do you want to be a maritime electrician? Maritime is boats. So do you like the idea of traveling across the globe? If so, you might like a career as a maritime electrician. Maritime means connected with the sea. You know what? That should be a highlight. Maritime means connected with the sea. If you work as a maritime electrician, you'll install, maintain, and repair the engines and electrical systems on ships and boats. You might work for a ship owner, shipbuilder, or ship repair company. You might perform the following tasks: installing batteries and generators, maintain and repair motors, pumps, navigation systems. Maritime electricians do not follow the National Electrical Code like construction electricians. Instead, they follow the standards created by other authorities: the American Bureau of Shipping, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, the U.S. Navy. And there's a picture of an electric room on a ship. I've never been in an electric room on a ship. I can't tell you what any of these dials or these wheels do. Here are the different dials. I'm sure that it's very much like being on land, except my understanding is that a lot of ships use 400 hertz instead of 60 hertz. So I know very little about it. If you want to be a maritime electrician, then more power to you. I don't know how to get a job. I don't know what you do once you have the job, but good luck. Have fun with it. The stage of wiring where you install and terminate devices and fixtures is known as the trim out. Remember, after the rough-in, you have to get a rough-in inspection, then you can do the trim out. To install wiring in a commercial building, you need to learn how to bend conduit. True. You need to have the wires installed in conduit for commercial. Electricians who work in factories are known as industrial electricians. Like construction electricians, maritime electricians must follow the NEC. That's false. Okay, very good. We'll go on to part 2.